guys, welcome to another episode of the Whiskey Diaries. I'm your host Martin Lang, and today we're going to be talking about the Macallan Editions. We have talked in other videos about the Macallan distilleries, specifically the sherry oak 12-year-old, and in another sherry comparison whiskies, mentioning that the Macallan is basically the Rolls Royce of whiskies. It's just a whiskey that they just don't spare any money in making, probably some of the best, most expensive whiskies you can find in the world. Some of the whiskies that they go back to like 1920s, 1930s, they sell for over 100 grand. All the whiskies are exceptional. I don't think Macallan, I have never tried a bad Macallan in my life. Mostly Macallan since the 80s and the 70s, well, actually since the distillery got created, it's like 100% sherry cask. In late 2004, they introduced something that is called fine oak, that we started experimenting with American oak. But in general, Macallan is famous for the wood program that they have. They basically source and have the best deals with some of the best sherry producers around Spain, in Jerez. And lately in 2016, they released something that is called the editions. In 2016, they released edition number 1, and now 2020 is up to number 5. We don't know how many editions they're going to do, but they have become collector's items. In it, for instance, just to give you an idea, the edition number 1 in 2016 sold for like $150, $160. Now this bottle is considered rare. You can barely find it, and it's up to $200, $2.5, almost $3,000 if you can find it on auction sites and so on and so on. What's so special about this? Well, in particular is the amount of wood and the amount of work that they do. In this particular edition number 1, they have 8 different casks, and what they're trying to do with the editions is work with different professionals in the industry or out of other industries. We'll go through each edition individually. This one in particular is the first one with the master whiskey master that is called Bob Dalgarno, and basically what he did is approach different sherry producers and sherry bodegas around Spain, and they create a specific cask representing what flavors they do best with their wood. Now, the great thing about these whiskies as well is the fact that they tell you a lot of information, the percentage of the casks used, how much they use, and there's heaps of information out there on the internet. We're not going to go through each individual casks, but the first, all of them are from basically cooperages, and what Macallan did is they approached them and they got a specific cask created for this specific sherry. On the back of the box, it tells you the percentages. So in this case, they did sherry butts. It was 58% of the whiskey. Hogsheads was 23%, and Puncheons was 19%. Now, if you don't know what any of these, don't worry, I'll explain it to you pretty quickly. Puncheons is around 600 liters, and it's just a cask that is 600 liters. The hogshead is about 550 to 600, and then the butt is about 500 liters. Now, 50 liter, what it does is that obviously, as you might know, the smaller the cask, the more wood contact has with the whiskey, so it's a lot more flavor and a lot more wood contact that gives a lot more color to the whiskey. The bigger the barrel, the less contact means that it gives a lighter flavors. So what they're trying to do here is obviously just blend and mix and try to come up with the perfect balance. Some people say that this edition is the best one so far. We're going to go through all of them, obviously going to compare them. First fill European oak, what it does to a whiskey, gives it a lot of color and a lot of spicy flavors. So this is basically a fair bit of the whiskey goes in there. Then second fill gives it a little more lighter aromas and a lighter color just to blend it over. Now, I believe this is kind of like a correlation, or like they're doing the additions after what they did with the Ruby, the Sienna, and the Amber releases of Macallan that happened before around 2014. And they basically just aiming for those non-age statement releases. None of these whiskies and tell you what age they are, and they're just trying to show, Macallan, I believe, is what they're trying to do, is just trying to explain or just educate the customer that age statement on a bottle does not make the whiskey a better whiskey. We have obviously the experience of just trying some incredibly old Glenfarclas and so on, and being not that great compared to the price tag and the age statement on the bottle. And this really shows that a whiskey is more than the age. It's actually the flavor and the make of it, and how much time and effort you put making it. So we're going to try this one. This is going to be one of our rare whiskies as well, because you can't find this one anymore, and it costs us a pretty penny. So there we go. Beautiful. So this one, the interesting fact about these ones as well is we're going to go, obviously, when we do all the releases, is that each Macallan has, at least in Australia, I know that in America they have a different ABV system, but in Australia the first Macallan is 48%, the edition number 2 is 48.2, 3 is 48.3, 4 is 48.4, and 5 is 48.5, which I think is a nice little quirky little detail there. So despite the notes, the tasting notes that you can find on the back of the bottle or on the back of the box tells you that there's a lot of ginger and freshness coming from the second fill barrels, and the first fill barrels gives you that like nutmeg spiciness that you get from classic sherry cask. Wow, that's the nose already is outstanding. Definitely that backbone of Macallan, that the print. Oh yeah, that's something else. 48%. I wouldn't add any water to this. That's a delicious whiskey. Definitely all the Macallan components coming here. Definitely a lot of sherry. You will distinguish this out of a blind tasting, out of being Macallan, no problems. Definitely spicy notes. For some reason, there's a lot of sweetness coming through as well. That is different to what you would get from a sherry cask, but it's actually definitely delicious. If you can get yourself around one of these bottles, definitely go for it. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you in the next one. Salam Jabba.